Hello and welcome. You're watching Head to Head. I'm Carrie Oderman with UATV. Today we're talking about the reforms made by Ukraine's government since 2014. Just recently, the Professional Government Association has held a conference called 5 Years After Maidan, looking back and forward. Launched in March 2014 by Ukrainian alumni of world-class universities, the Professional Government Association brings together over 25 Ukraine-based alumni associations with over 3,000 Western-educated Ukrainians. So how far has Ukraine progressed in terms of implementing vital reforms, and what else needs to be done? To discuss this and more, we're joined in the studio by Artem Shaipov, head of the board of the Professional Government Association. Hello, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Let's start with the conference. I'd like to know how many participants were there, from which countries were they from, and what did you talk about?
Well, we've gathered about 250 participants, mainly from Ukraine, but we also had representatives of the European Union delegation and UNDP and other international missions, foreign missions in Ukraine. And we focused on three main things. First is the civil service culture. Then we also discussed the corporate governance reform in state-owned enterprises. And also we discussed the issue of other reforms and the role of Western-educated Ukrainians in advancing them.
So this has a lot to do with the culture of civil society in general, and that's probably why the international organizations were interested in attending your meeting. What kind of input were they giving you about the direction Ukraine should be heading?
Well, we had a chance to hear from a representative of the European Union delegation to Ukraine, and she emphasized the importance of working together, so the importance of inclusive approach to reforms. And she also drew a very vivid picture of the current state of affairs from the European Union perspective, and how we should address certain problems. So just kind suggestions from her side.
Well, you're in contact with the current government, and your organization is. Have you been able to give them any input? I know that several members of your organization are active currently in government. Mm-hmm. Have you been able to guide, perhaps, the current administration in any way?
Well, the Professional Government Association of Ukraine has a code of conduct, and we focus our work on advancing public administration reform in line with certain values, central values to our organization, which are public good, competence, and orientation on results. And we recently made a public statement on the draft law and now already adopted law on the reboot of civil service. And we focused the government's attention on certain flaws in the draft law. And now we're going to work with the government on further civil service reform, to make sure our government is able to deliver to civil society and to other sectors of our society, and to make sure that every Ukrainian is proud of his or her government.
There was a huge shift in Ukraine in 2014, and your organization stepped in with people that were educated, mostly in the West, to bring ideas and methods back. Now, 5 years later, is your organization relevant in terms of should Ukraine not be supporting its own education system instead of depending on having its best and brightest sent abroad and then come back and hope they will come back? Mm-hmm.
Well, the association was established in the aftermath of the Revolution of Dignity and the ousting of the former president Yanukovych, and his team created a void in public administration. And we got together in order to support the new democratic government at that time, after the revolution, with quality human capital. And it was our main objective to supply as many Western-educated professionals as possible into the government. And we managed to achieve some progress. And back in 2014 and 15, about 100 members of the association joined the government and started to work at state-owned enterprises, leading change at various positions. But then we invested a lot of time and efforts in successfully promoting and advocating the idea of establishing this unified, a single entry point into civil service, which is now Career.gov.ua, which is an online portal which everyone can use in order to familiarize themselves with certain vacancies available in public service and apply to government positions. And now, now we feel that the association is relevant and our help is much needed. And we receive requests to support public officials with finding quality people, and we're happy to support through our network.
Can I assume that your organization also has some social aspects? Do you meet regularly with your members?
Well, the PGA annual conference that you mentioned is our major event, which serves as a forum for us to discuss the current issues and get together and make sure that we stay on the same page with our broader membership. But we also organize networking events, and we also do a lot of work on leading certain result-oriented projects, one of which in our current flagship project is the Civil Service Feedback Loop project aimed at analyzing civil service culture in Ukraine. And we do this together with our partners, the Secretariat of the Cabinet of Ministers, and our partner research institutions in Ukraine and abroad.
Let's talk demographics a little bit. 2014, your organization began. You were taking recent graduates from the West. You're a relatively young group of people. Right now, in the Verkhovna Rada, I think nearly 70% are also under 35 or 33. You have a lot in common with the current politicians. Is there more touch points to deal with the new politicians because you're on a one-to-one basis?
Yeah, I would say that the current composition of the Verkhovna Rada gives us hope that there will be a lot of change. Since there are a lot of young people, among them Western educated Ukrainians, it also provides us with this hope that we'll be able to set up numerous avenues for cooperation going forward, in particular with the Committee on State Building, which is central to the work that the Professional Government Association is doing.
Is there anything that you can do to aid and support Ukrainians that haven't been educated abroad?
Well, it's an excellent point. And at our first conference back in 2014, we invited a German ambassador who was very kind to say, well, guys, you're bright, well educated, why don't you include other members of Ukrainian society who were not that privileged as you were? And after that conversation, we decided to introduce an associate membership. And those Ukrainians who haven't had a chance to study abroad, they can join the association, provided they share our values and goals to support public administration reform and work towards improvement of the quality of governance in Ukraine.
What are the future plans for your organization?
Well, we've got a very ambitious goal, is to serve as a civil society platform for making the Ukrainian government world-class. And we have our logo, which contains 5 yellow dots, and some members of our association believe that this is the number of generations that we need to get there. But more optimistic ones, as myself, think that this is a number of decades. And it's a long, long way ahead. And we are here to work and step by step progress towards this objective. And now we are going to finalize our project, the Civil Service Feedback Loop, which is aimed at providing voice to civil servants Basically, it's about surveying civil servants and asking them about key points of the key points related to the environment they work in, whether they're satisfied with their job, whether they're listened to by their superiors, or whether they can, fulfill their, professional and personal potential working for the government. And these are important questions to be asked, and for senior government officials to be able to listen to their subordinates and support them in any way possible, in order for the government to be attractive for young and more open-minded, forward-looking people who are professionals.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We're looking forward to seeing in which direction Ukraine develops in terms of civil service. That was Artem Shaipov, head of the board of the Professional Government Association. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more.